after UFC St. Louis last weekend, we've kind of been smacked back down to reality, and now we've got, an average fight card to get into. I'm just going to be going over the main card, and then got some news to talk about, and I'm going to give my thoughts on the Usyk Fury fight as well, which is probably the main talking point of this video. That's the biggest fight happening this weekend. Probably one of the biggest heavyweight fights since we're talking about some of the greats. I know Anthony Joshua Klitschko was a big fight. There were some other sort of big ones along the way, the Fury Wilder fights, but this one really does seem to be like who is the best heavyweight boxer of our generation. First, I'm going to give just my quick thoughts on the UFC main card this weekend. Obviously not a stacked card after last week's fight night, probably one of the better fight nights of the year now. We got this one to talk about. Going into the first one, Garimbo against Brahimaj. Brahimaj, in my opinion, not on the sort of level that you need to be a decent level UFC fighter. Garimbo coming in with some hype, big first round knockout in his last fight against Pete Rodriguez, the overhand right, managed to get it over in like the first 30 seconds. Obviously the story that he's had, one of the better stories. A lot of these fighters from the sort of Africa and stuff regions, they have these great stories where they really struggle and have to fight to kind of even get into the countries they go to get this fighting career. And Garimbo definitely has one of those. There's stories of him working in the diamond mines and, people shooting at him every day and stuff like that. So yeah, this guy has lived a hell of a life. Now ended up in the UFC and got some traction in I think it was his second UFC fight. He lost to AJ Fletcher in the first one. And then in his second fight, The Rock saw his talk about only having like $4 in his bank account when he came to America. The Rock bought him a house, and now he's got this hype and a lot of respect from the fans after a few good performances. I think he's 3-1 in the UFC now looking to go 4-1 against Brahimaj. Brahimaj is all 10 wins of his come by submission, so where he likes to take this fight on the feet. He's pretty much uncomfortable with most people he fights, and I do think Garimbo even has the grappling advantage though. Solid wrestler, looked to show some really good wrestling in his MMA career so far. Probably a better wrestler than he is a striker. Obviously the decision win against Sato was the main sort of showing that, where he was able to dominate that fight through grappling, and then he dropped him as well, and then getting a big knockout over Pete Rodriguez. So he's coming into this fight with a lot of hype, coming in with a lot of confidence, and I think that will be enough to get him the win. I do think if Brahimaj can even get a takedown, I think Garimbo will be safe, especially if Garimbo engages in takedowns first, because Brahimaj is not the same submission artist when he's off his back, he's defending. We saw people like Court McGee and stuff able to control him on the ground. So yeah, I'm going Garimbo in this one. It's the smart pick. I'm going to go by a decision. He could get a finish, he's shown to have some power in those hands. I don't think he's a great striker himself though, so I just think it will be a bit scrappy, and it will go to decision. I read that one. I broke that fight down first because for some reason on the main card it says here it's first, but I'm pretty sure it's not. I'm pretty sure kicking off the main card is Luna Pinheiro against Angela Hill, so we might as well get into that one next. I think the smart pick here, Angela Hill. All the way through her MMA career, she's looked to be solid. She's got good wins all the way up. For her losses, I know the record looks very ugly, 16-13. But if we look at some of the losses she's got here, I'll go through her record and just read out some of the people she's lost to. Obviously, the dominant loss to Mackenzie Dern, able to survive a lot of damage in that fight. Mackenzie Dern, elite level black belt in jiu-jitsu, and wasn't able to submit her when she did take her to the ground. Losses to Viva Janaroba as well. We know he's a great fighter. Amanda Lemos, Tisha Pennington, Michelle Waterson. Losses against some real good people. Claudio Cadea, Zhang Yonan. I don't know why I even questioned that. But yeah, a lot of losses that age really well, and the wins on her career. Anytime she looks to sort of drop down and fight someone who's not in the top 10, sort of top 7 area, she looks to beat these guys who are lingering around the top 15, just outside the rankings. And that's shown in her last 3 wins, being against Denise Gomez, who was coming in over a big knockout win over Jasmine Jauja-Legri. I think it was a bit of a weird name to pronounce, but that was a massive win. She was a big underdog in that fight. I'm pretty sure that was that one, if I remember correctly. And then Emily Dakota, not the best win, but before that, Lupita Godinez. So some really good wins. Ashley Yoder as well, getting the second win over her, and the losses against people like Michelle Watson. I don't think she lost that fight. In my opinion, she won the Amanda Lemos fight as well. She's had a lot of decisions in her career that have probably gone the wrong way. So yeah, I'm going to go Angela Hill decision. I think that's the smartest pick, and I don't really, to be honest, I don't rate Panera quite so much. I know she was looking decent against Amanda Ribas, but Ribas isn't hard to find the chin of, and yeah, it was just those long 1-2s as her best weapon. But Angela Hill's, in my opinion, the better boxer, the better striker, and she's going to outpoint her for the whole 3 rounds and probably win 30-27s. Again, on to Adrian Yanez versus Vinicius Salvador. Just a complete layup for Adrian Yanez, if we're going to be honest. Coming off his first 2 losses in the UFC, obviously went on a decent run when he went 5-0 in the company. His biggest wins over people like Davy Grant, that was a big win. That was a very close fight. Obviously the Tony Kelly one, that was the one that really pushed him, although Tony Kelly had no reason to be in the octagon with him. That was all the beef on Twitter, the sort of racist remarks Tony Kelly made. I can't remember, something about, yeah, I'm not even going to get into it, but he said some mad shit in the corner of, I think it's his girlfriend. So yeah, Adrian Yanez really enjoyed that knockout, and I think this is a layup for him. Vinicius Salvador coming off, I think he's 0-2 in the UFC, coming off two losses. Yeah, he lost to CJ Figueroa, not an awful loss, but CJ Figueroa is not the best fighter, and then Vidal Tamorano able to dominate him over all 3 rounds as well. So I don't think Vinicius Salvador, even when he was at flyweight, didn't look the best, didn't look to maybe overpower anyone, where now coming up to bantamweight, wasn't a tiny flyweight, so he's not going to look out of place in there, but Adrian Yanez is really just going to have a power advantage. The only way Salvador can win is maybe leg kicks. We saw Adrian Yanez really struggle against Jonathan Martinez with them, but I just don't see that. Salvador's kicks, he does use them, they're not super effective. Doesn't really, when someone gets kicked hard in the leg because they sort of stumble, you see their leg starting to go dead. You can there's tells where they are getting to that point in the fight where Salvador's not really done that to many people, and Yanez is going to have such a major boxing advantage. I'm actually going to go Adrian Yanez first round KO in this one. I think that will really push him back to winning ways, and yeah, sort of just, they do want to push him. He was close to having some big sort of deals. I think he worked with Dr. Pepper, and there was another sort of big brand, like a chocolate brand, I can't remember who it was, but I saw it in a video earlier. But yeah, Adrian Yanez knockout, safest pick, best pick, probably one of the, if you're a betting man, this is one of the locks of the card. Going on to the co-main event, Chaos Williams against Carlton Harris. Harris, a really good, solid fighter. Doesn't look the best as he's doing it. Not necessarily like the prettiest fighter to watch, but he's got some real solid wins. Only lost in the UFC, coming to Shavkat Rakhmonov, and was it actually looking pretty good in that fight. Was catching Shavkat quite a bit in that first round until I think he got wheel kicked. So yeah, not a pretty thing to happen to you, and anyone can get spinning kicked in the head, and if you do, that's just the end of the night. But until then, he was looking pretty solid in that fight. And he's got some really good wins. Obviously, the biggest win of his career, aging pretty good now, is against Impa Kasanganay, who's gone on to PFL and had a really good career there. So yeah, I think Carlton Harris, I do like him in this fight. Chaos Williams obviously has that sort of just punch you and kill you knockout power. That knockout over Razak Hazan was one of the most brutal knockouts I've ever seen, and you heard DC say he was probably down for about 5 minutes. So when anyone has that kind of power, they obviously have a really good chance in the fight there. And I think that always gives Chaos such a big opportunity to win his fights. But for me, Chaos, I think he's 30 years old now, and he's getting into a point where I'd like to be seeing more improvement in his general technique. And I'm not seeing that. I'm kind of still seeing, he opens the fight well. He's like looking to jab, looking to throw those straight shots. And as soon as he gets hit, he just sees red and swings for the fences. And, it's fun to watch as a fan. A lot of people I watch the UFC with love Chaos Williams just because, he bites down on the mouthpiece and he just looks to take your head off if he is losing the fight. But I'm actually going to go with the underdog pick in this one. I'm going to go Harris. I'm going to And I'll probably go decision. I think he can grapple and maybe get a submission. Seen him, he's got Anaconda, a Dart in the UFC, so we've seen him be able to get those sort of high level techniques off against probably better grapplers, than Chaos. But it's just going to be hard to take Chaos down and control him. He's such a big, athletic, explosive guy. But I think the straight punch to use is good with the overhand right. I'm just going to edge him. I think there's a high chance Chaos lands a big shot and knocks him out. But, you got to go with an underdog pick on the card. You got to pick a couple. I'm going to pick another one, which you will see in a minute. But yeah, now going on to the main event, obviously I'm picking the underdog, Edson Barboza. I think if you look at Leroy Murphy's career, he is obviously a very good fighter. Kind of, if you're going to compare him to another British fighter, maybe like a Leon Edwards, he doesn't really necessarily have the major killer instinct. We're not seeing him go out here and smoke guys. We've seen him knock out Amir Khani. I think that might be his only knockout in the UFC, with a perfectly timed knee. Again, anyone runs into that, they're going to go to sleep. And Leroy Murphy was able to time that one perfectly. But other than that, kind of had some close fights. There was one against Leonardo Santos, a split decision. I do think he probably lost that fight. And there's just certain tells. Amir Khani able to control him on the ground for the whole of the first round, and Amir Khani, he always just gasses out, and but he dominated Leroy Murphy in that first round. There's been a lot of other. Kulabau was a decent performance, probably his best in the UFC in my opinion. Was able to drop him, dominate on the ground as well, so he didn't look too bad. But Gabriel Santos, real close fight. Amir Khani, even the Silva Andre fight isn't great. He did get another finish against Ricardo Ramos, which isn't a bad one. We know Ricardo Ramos has potential to knock people out and has knocked out some decent guys. But I'm going to go Edson. He's got so much high level experience in his last fight against Sadiq Youssef, able to show that really just still got that chin, still got that dog in him, and just able to come back and rally against Sadiq after getting hurt like that in the first round. Murphy's not the power puncher Sadiq is, so I don't necessarily see him finishing Edson Barboza. And for anyone, unless you wrestle with Edson, and Murphy does not have the grappling advantage in this one. If you go to decision with Edson and it's been a stand-up match, it's very rare you beat him. If you do, it's going to be a real close fight like the Poolfelder one. There's a couple others where he's been knocked out, but if it goes the distance, he rarely loses a striking matchup. Been competing in Muay Thai fights all over the world since he was about 5 years old, so this guy's really just got a deep level of striking. We see it every time he performs, and I'm going to go Edson Barboza. I do think there's a chance he gets a late finish here. Obviously, 5 rounds with Edson picking his shots, mainly his kicks. We saw with the Dan Hooker fight especially, that's the one that sticks out in my mind. He is able to damage you over long periods of time. Not necessarily the hardest puncher, but he will destroy your legs, your body. He really is sort of a dissector when it comes to striking. He will go to the leg, body, head, set you up, destroy your legs, and then end you with a headshot. And that could happen in this one. We could see him just brutalise the body and the legs, maybe land out wheel kick. We see him land that in almost every fight. But I am going to go decision. I think Murphy's tough. Been through a lot in his life. Had a real sort of couple battles with a death experience where he was shot in the head when he was younger, and then not even that long ago I think he got hit off his bike by a car and was in a coma, really close both times to died, and he has spoke about it. He's been back in the gym so quick after that last incident, and he has got that sort of thing where, like John Anik said about Leon Edwards, they're cut from a certain cloth, and he's got that fight in him, so I think he will be able to survive the dodgy moments with Edson, but I'm going to say Edson just doing the more damage overall. And now we got the boxing to get into. I don't know the whole card, I'm going to be honest, but I'm going to just talk about the main event. Probably the biggest heavyweight fight of my lifetime. Well, I'm 22 years old. Biggest heavyweight fight since I've been a boxing fan, definitely. And to be honest, Usyk has I think he's 6'3", Fury about 6'7", 6'8", has a major height disadvantage, but we've seen him I think he's had about 300 boxing amateur fights, fighting bigger dudes almost his whole career, being that undisputed cruiserweight champion, one of the best cruiserweights of all time, and now going up to heavyweight and looking to become just a unified heavyweight king. You know, the first time, I don't know off the top of my head how long, but the first time in years that all the belts are on the line at heavyweight. We've obviously had all these weird linear championships and stuff. Now all the belts are on the line. We're really going to see who the best heavyweight on the planet is. To be honest, I do kind of like Usyk in this fight. The stylistic matchup's very interesting. Obviously, people claim Usyk has a weakness to the body. The Daniel Dubois fight, a lot of people think that wasn't a low blow. Personally, I think it's on the belt line. We don't know. You know, it's easy to sit on the couch as you got your can of Heineken in your hand and to say that didn't affect him in that area. When anyone who's trained knows, if you're wearing a cup, if you've competed and you're wearing a cup, any kind of hit around that thigh, that upper sort of lower belly area, that can affect that can knock the cup into it. So I'm not here saying it wasn't a low blow. It was close. It was in the borderline of being low, being a perfect shot. I do think it probably did hurt him to the body, and he just saw an opportunity. And people can hate on that, but it's a sport where it's not necessarily a fair sport. You got to take your opportunities where you can, and Usyk's such an experienced fighter. He might not have as many fights as Tyson Fury professionally wise, but like I said, these sort of Ukrainian boxers amateur wise, I think he's had 300 wins and 2 losses in the amateurs, something like that, and fought so many high level people in the amateurs, Berbatiev and I think might have fought Dmitry Bivol as well. So a lot of high level guys, and now going on to his heavyweight career, obviously the Tony Bellew one, I don't know if that was back down at cruiserweight, I think it might have been, but going up, fought Derek Chisora, looked very good in that one. 2 dominant wins over Anthony Joshua, and people like to say Joshua made some good adjustments in that second fight, which he did. Much better performance from Anthony Joshua, but at the end of the day, he lost both those fights 9 rounds to 3, I'm pretty sure. So it shows Usyk is dominant. He took big shots in those fights, able to rally back and still win the rounds that he took those big shots in, so it shows he's got a chin. Fury, not necessarily known for his body punches, maybe back in the day, like the Cunningham fight, he's going to have to go a lot more that style, where he puts his hands up, he marches you down, he bullies you, and that's the way he does beat Alexander Usyk. He's got to get him against the ropes, lean on him with that 2 stone difference, weighed in 2 stone heavier, and he's really got to gas him out and just control where the fight goes. He's got to manage the distance. He's got to do all the things he didn't against Francis Ngannou, because let's be honest, the Ngannou fight is a terrible look for Fury. AJ went out there and smoked Ngannou like Fury should have, and people can say Fury didn't take it seriously, but if Tyson Fury 20 stone or 25 stone or whatever the fuck he was when he went on the cocaine binge and retired for a while, that Tyson Fury who was out drinking every night, doing probably thousands of pounds worth of drugs, that Tyson Fury should go out there and smoke Ngannou in a boxing match, if we're going to be honest. And he didn't. He was in shape. He went, was it 10 rounds? I'm pretty sure. He went 10 rounds with Francis Ngannou. Never really looked like he was gassing out. He just kind of got pushed around a bit. Obviously, the Usyk fight, a complete different stylistic matchup. But in my opinion, Usyk is the best pure boxer that Tyson Fury has ever fought. And I think that's going to cause him problems. Usyk's going to be the one going to the body. He's so hard to hit that I think Tyson Fury kind of, especially in these later years, his footwork slowed down a lot. His punching combination speed isn't necessarily the same. Still really slick boxer, good technically. Obviously up to the power punching a lot as well, which is a major thing in his new gym. He's been learning to really sit on his punches, and we saw that in the Wilder rematches, the Dillian White fight, the Derek Chisora fight was just brutal to watch. That was not a nice one to watch. Chisora's just too tough for his own good. We've seen that just too many times. And in this one, I'm just going to give my prediction. I actually am going to go with Usyk decision. I don't even think that's like a mad pick now. I think people are sort of coming around to the fact that Usyk, boxing wise, alright, he might be a very small guy compared to Tyson Fury, but when you're that light years, well, he's so it's hard because he's not. It's not like Fury isn't one of the better heavyweights we've seen. I just think Usyk, technical wise, that sort of style from the Soviet era is just insane. The combinations, the head movement, the footwork, could probably fight for 50 rounds at the same pace. Throw in 40, 50 punches around. He's just a machine, and I just don't see Tyson Fury really able to hurt him. He's got to hurt him to win. I don't think he wins a decision, so that's why I'm going to go Alexander Usyk. We'll be watching it. I'll be tweeting my reactions as it's happening, so make sure to follow us on Twitter. It's just the same logo as our YouTube Combat Chatters. So yeah, follow us over there. Always tweeting, always sort of posting when we upload and stuff. So just make sure, follow us on social medias. I'm going to get into a little bit of news. The UFC Manchester card has just been announced. The sort of main two talking points, obviously the main event, Leon Edwards against Belal Muhammad. Gonna be an interesting watch at about 6 in the morning. I don't know how I'm going to be feeling in that arena when that fight's happening, but the co-main, a lot better. Well, maybe not a lot better. I still like the main event, to be honest. I think it'll be an okay fight. But the co-main, the big boys, Tom Aspinall defending his heavyweight championship. He's the real heavyweight champion against Curtis Blades. Hopefully the winner will get John Jones. It seems like John Jones is kind of opening up to the fact that he might have, for just out of like, he's got to give the winner the fight. Even he said, even if Curtis Blade wins today, that he don't want to disrespect him. He's no walk in the park, so people should still call for that fight. But I think we're all thinking the Tom fight. If Tom can get through Curtis Blades, which won't be a walk in the park, I think Curtis Blades is probably apart from that John Jones matchup, probably Curtis Blades is probably his toughest matchup in the heavyweight division, just because his boxing's come so far in the last couple of years, and we know how good his wrestling is. But after seeing Almeida kind of dominate him the way he did early on, just with the takedowns, obviously Curtis Blades came back and win, and I did pick him to win as well, just because I knew he would get taken down. But I don't think Almeida has a finishing threat on the ground against these high level people, where Blades will be able to sort of turn that around and get the finish, and he did. And I think Tom Aspinall, if he does get it to the ground, which I think he will find harder, definitely has the jiu-jitsu advantage over Almeida and would be able to submit Curtis Blades, and probably just has the boxing advantage on the feet. Does leave his chin in the air a bit too much, which I always worry about. But yeah, I think I can pick him. I think I can pick Leon. Both of them have a chance to lose, to be honest. I think Belal has a chance of beating Leon Edwards. I don't think it's a very big one, but I wouldn't be shocked. For me, it wouldn't be like, when you're watching the TV and like Juliana Pena submits Nunes, or even when Leon Edwards beat Usman the way, it's not going to be like a mad upset. Like, it's more of just like, everyone sees Leon as the big favourite, but you're not going to go crazy if Belal 48th him just to a decision and wins the last 2 rounds just by holding him down. No one's going to be surprised if that happens. Darren Till, obviously, announcing having his boxing match over on the Mike Tyson Jake Paul undercard, so that's an interesting one. He was out slandering that fight a couple of weeks ago. Now he's fighting on not the co-main, I think one down from the co-main. That card's actually looking pretty stacked now, and I said in a video a few weeks ago, Jake Paul needs to be stopped. I'm not going to watch the fight. I'm going to try boycott it. I think everyone should. Now they're stacking the undercard like this, I think I might have to delete that video. I think I'm going to watch the card. Soriano and Katie Taylor being the co-main event. I will obviously give a breakdown on the whole card, all the people I'm familiar with as well. I'm not just going to go. There's going to be some people on there that they're just trying to push. So yeah, real interesting things coming up. Darren Till against Chavez Jr. Obviously, Julio Chavez, one of the best boxers of all time, having an insane record. I think he's got the most title defenses ever in boxing. So yeah, he comes from a bloodline of professional boxers. His uncle, a professional boxer too. He was actually a really successful boxer. He's like 50 wins, 5 losses, but really struggled with his mental health and the drug addiction problems, been in rehab a load. And we obviously saw Anderson Silva win, so that would automatically make you think Darren Till can get the win here. But if Chavez Jr. comes in 100% and he's looking to get a career back, or maybe he's just doing it for money, but if he is looking to get a career back in boxing, he went the distance with Canelo. He fought for a WBC championship. He's a high level fighter, and I think if he really does turn up, he will probably beat Darren Till. I want to see Till win. He looks really good in the gym, so I am going to pick Darren Till. But if Chavez takes his fight seriously, I do just edge him. Just a lifetime of boxing. We've seen it against these MMA guys countless times, and Anderson Silva is a real high level boxer. Darren Till is too, but Anderson even at that age, has a different sort of striking. You know, he sees things that other people don't. So yeah, great things happening in the combat world at the moment. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube. That's the main way I can see that people are supporting us. Follow us on Twitter, subscribe to our YouTube. That, you know, the YouTube is really what we want to grow. So do that. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Just give us general engagement. Leave comments, leave likes. You know, we want to see you're enjoying the content. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. We'll see you in the next one.